Hi, folks.
Everyone,
Hello.
all right, here in just a second. So we had our MCS event calendar up there as everyone was logging on. If anybody didn't get a chance to see that, let me know and I'll put it back up. All right, are we ready, Robin?
Yes, hi, we're ready to go.
All right, thank you. We
Thanks.
have a quorum, so we can get started. Welcome everyone to the regular meeting of the MCS Board of Directors. It's December 10th, 2024, 5 p.m. Here's our meeting agenda. I'll share it to my screen here. We do not have any pre-submitted public comments this time. And so we'll just need to move to number 3, which is the approval of the November minutes. Make a motion that the board members approve our November minutes.
I can second that, Dan.
I'm just checking who's who, because I don't see Marie here, so who's taking minutes? Is she just gonna watch the video or what?
We can't hear you, Dan, now.
Maybe, I think Marie was planning on being here, so maybe I'll just send her a message real quick.
Okay.
Hey, Dan, can you put up our slide?
Yeah, I had it up earlier before we started, so just 1 second.
I missed the communication earlier. Are we sending somebody a text?
Yeah, I just reached out to Marie because when I talked to her earlier, she was planning on being here at 5.
She'll be here. She was just driving back from Hood River, so she'll be
Oh.
in shortly.
Okay, you already know. I'm happy to take notes while we wait for Marie.
Certainly, thank you. So before my phone clicked over and took my earpods away, I was trying to get approval of the November minutes. So I'll make a motion that we approve the November minutes as they were sent out. Thank you, Tiffany, for the second. All those in favor? Any opposed, voice or opposition? Okay, motion passes. I'm going to put on the screen here real quick just a summary of events coming up for the school. And we'll have that on there for about a minute, and then we'll move on to changes to an approval of the agenda. Can everyone see this? Is this an appropriate size in all your screens, or is it really small?
It's really small. Oh, that's better.
That looks better, yep.
Thank you.
Okay, and obviously some things are subject to change as we get further out into the year, but this is just, we'll do this at every meeting so people can get an idea of what's coming up. Thanks, McKenna, for sending this out.
My pleasure.
So item number 4 on our agenda is the changes to an approval of the agenda. And down at the DOE grant update, I had it number 9. Brent's here to make it so that he doesn't wait here all night. I'm going to move him up to number 5 in front of the business manager report, if that's okay with everyone else. So I'll make a motion that we move the DOE presentation and Q&A up to number 5. Can I get a second on that, or discussion if anybody has any discussion on it?
I second that.
Okay. It's up for discussion, otherwise we'll go ahead and vote. Okay, all members in favor? Any opposed, please voice your opposition. All right, we'll make that change to move Brent's presentation up to number 5, which is right now. So Brent, thank you for being here. Sorry to put you on the spot so quickly, but I also know that you have a life to get back to. So
There you go. Can you hear me?
you can, yeah.
Excellent. Well, I'm coming to you live from the Home Depot parking lot in East Portland, so I appreciate you
Excellent.
bouncing me up. So you know, I guess did anyone not have a chance to see the email I sent out? I think that kind of lays out the basics, which is you know, like most other folks, we are in a budget situation. You know, that basically every public project that folks are doing from the port to the city of Mosier, the prices went up a lot since 2 years ago. I'd say that's the vast majority of why we're seeing more money in here. There's a few things in here, like I think 8,000 and change for a better HVAC or a better ventilation filtration system. I'm not totally clear if the original estimate actually included removing all of the current heating units that we had. So there's a couple of things like that, but largely that is the situation we're in. The one update, did talk to Tito tonight. He kind of has had the plan there and got me numbers. I'd put in $100,000 expected placeholder for HVAC. He said it's probably, and this is kind of wearing his worst case hat with a number of questions, closer to 150. So that would take the fantastic numbers you're seeing of about a 260K deficit from what was planned to be spent already and add another 50 to it. Again, I that's nothing that needs to be approved or decided on tonight, but just I wanted to throw the latest and greatest into the mix. You know, the big picture on this thing is still, it's like $860,000+ of free money directly for the HVAC. And then we're looking if things proceed as planned with the solar, something around another 200,000 for the solar, 202,000. So, you know, overall it's $1 million in free money. I guess I'm skeptical that a few years from now from the feds, there's going to be things that are equally as generous, but unless it makes sense to anyone else, I think maybe it just starts. Actually, just before instead I ramble on, just see if there's any questions or any kind of things I could answer from the board on anything about the project or the grant or what have you.
Thank you, Brent. Anybody not look at that email that needs me to put it on the screen? I can put up the cost if you need it. I think it's one of those things we've seen as a community, you know, mission creep, but also cost increase. So, you know, as we go forward, they're gonna keep getting more expensive. And it's one of the things we've secured this money from Brent's hard work on this grant. And you know, I don't need to re-say what he just said, but I think it's gonna get more expensive the longer we wait. And I don't, you know, Brent, from you, I'd like to just know if there's anything we need to vote on tonight, or is there anything we need to approve, is there anything we need to move forward with so that we do stay on track. You know, I want to make sure that we don't miss anything. I do worry about, you know, the changes in dynamics from the feds as we transition from one administration to another, and how that affects our ability to pay to get the grant in the first place or secure it if we haven't started the work, things like that. So you want to speak to any of that?
Yeah, just I guess the one thing I did want to mention, just you know, I kind of looked at this for, you know, Michelle and Matt Kaler and I all looked at part of, if you looked at the actual document from Piper, they had a couple of different potential add-ons that we had asked them that weren't necessarily part of the DOE grant, but doing heating and gizmo, you know, so some fans. I think we all agree that it was just too pricey to jump to another building, and that we can get better prices on the rest of that stuff. You know, the reality is there's a big price cost to doing this with the feds as prevailing wage. So we get out of that and other issues, related to like this all has to be American made components unless we get a waiver. There are real concerns about what happens when the new president comes in. He's specifically talked about this project as this bill as something he's opposed to, et cetera. So I talked to DOE yesterday. The advice is, get receipts in ASAP. She says generally thinking that anything from our grant period is safe. There's a whole nother round of grants out right now that I think they're frankly more worried about that something gets thrown in the works. I talked to Dan for about a minute this afternoon. Well, actually, first question, is there anything you need to approve tonight? What I wasn't at the meeting, but what I understand is anything that was within budget, Michelle can decide on. This is obviously outside of budget. So that would be, I think, the first decision for you is, can we proceed with a contract with Piper to do the work? 811,666 for the HVAC. And then I would just say, probably if you say 150K up to that for the electrical, and then give, Michelle authority to finalize a contract on that. In order to speed things along and get this contract signed, I talked to Piper this afternoon. They're willing to do this. And I think I don't see a downside, but I'd want to check it with the lawyers. We could literally just do the same exact contract we did with them for the service upgrade. All the terms were not delayed renegotiating. We just say this is essentially an add-on to that contract, that we've already got it all blessed by the lawyers. It would just change the scope. Again, want to get their blessing on it, but that would seem to speed some time and put us in a good spot for retaining anything. The other
One
big
second.
Yep.
Let me get to Emily real quick here before we get too far in the weeds, so that I make sure that her question is relevant to what you're talking about at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's relevant to what we've talked about so far. I just wanted to, a couple things really quick. So the grant is secured currently, like we've signed the papers. Yes. Okay. That's what I thought. I wanted to check on that. And then, yeah. And then the only other question I had with you've got the solar, maybe this is a question or maybe it's just a comment. We've got the solar rebates in there that are significant. And I was wondering if those are IRA funds or what are those rebates, and do we risk, or should we be aware of the risk of not having those refunds under the next administration, or are those pretty secure?
So let me at the first question, what DOE describes, once we sign the grant, which we did, that money literally gets sent into another account where it sits with other grants that have been finalized, right? Now, none of us can, I think, fully anticipate what might be coming down the pipe here. But I would say DOE feels, at least what they've said, reasonably good that those are secure funds. Feels more secure if we've got receipts that have already been submitted that help show we've spent it. So we're working with Land Electric on getting that for the LED lighting upgrade, which they've already done a good part of. Dan and I talked today whether we may want to preemptively, and I've already sent DOE an email to ask if we could, say for ourselves, go out and buy solar panels or buy different components of that project to make sure two things. We've got two reasons to look at moving fairly quick, assuming all goes forward with solar as planned. One is if Trump comes in day one and puts in major tariffs on Chinese imports, the potential price effect on solar is staggering, specifically on solar. Even though the panels we would buy are made in the US, those US panels are priced with Chinese competition in mind. And so if the price of Chinese imports doubles, so might the price of solar. Right now, solar is incredibly affordable. Like all of the panels themselves, for the roof, I checked with Plaid Electric today, we could get them in stock out of Portland. Almost all of them are there, at least 169 of 200 and something. We could get them for something like $60,000, right? So that is I think a path we may want to consider, assuming all goes forward, is saying, hey, let's buy the materials while we can, if we can avoid like a RFP process and the delay that brings, have those purchases made consistent with the grant before January 20th. That seems to put us in a very good spot. You know, I don't even, my question to, and maybe this is the question, Michelle, or anyone else does it. Dan and I didn't know of the question. If we're just buying materials, do we have to put out an RFP? And I've asked the same question already to DOE, so I don't know their answer yet.
I think we might have to. Because I don't think it's just for laborers. I think it's when we're buying things too, but I can double check on that.
And if that's the case, Brent, do we have a couple other suppliers we could shoot off a supply list to
Yes.
besides Platt?
Yes.
Yeah, and it's just really, we just
So-
need 3 bids and they can actually just say, if we just contact them and they say they don't want a bid, that counts as a bid. So,
So it doesn't have to be a formal RFP process. It could just be three bids. Okay. So then the bottleneck, that's easy enough to get. The bottleneck then would be if it came from DOE and there's more of a formal RFP process. So.
And then hopefully with we could get more materials, a list of, hey, we're going to need these things, like you said, and then say, okay, well, let's get a full price on all that ahead of time.
Yeah, that process basically kind of sprung to life today after my call with DOE, making me probably more worried than I was. And I think within pretty short order, we could get a pretty good design for the solar. It's not complicated. There's solar panels, there's an inverter, there's if we a battery component to it. Understanding what the materials are, not understanding what 95% of the materials are, not super complicated. We could probably do it pretty cost effectively. The other benefit is if we're really looking to try to get that solar budget down as much as possible, my experience with the solar companies is they like to add a good amount onto materials. And if we know Tito was the main electrical installer for, the largest solar installer in the gorge. He can do the work. He's already interested in helping Scott Sorensen put together a bid on the full install. But if we buy the materials, I think probably in consultation with the designer and even an installer, then what the RFP might be doing, looking for the installer, is just looking like a lot leaner, more focused. Hey, you come, you install, and we've already got the materials taken care of, or at least let's say, most of them.
Okay. Yeah. Tiffany, go ahead.
Hey, thanks, Brent. I am just wondering, if we buy them, where will we put them? Or do we have somewhere to store them? What do we do in the meantime?
I would just say that part of, if this seems like a viable thing, I will figure that out. But absolutely, that's part of the mission. I'm not worried about it. I got a couple fairly large storage sites we could have access to pretty quickly.
Thanks.
That wouldn't be that hard. So, but good point.
My warehouse is available too, Brett.
Excellent. So I think really that the way I'd set up the board discussion is one of two things. We either, the board either says, look, because I kind of need some updated feedback with this and what it means for the rest of the project to be efficient, right? So, one door is, hey, look, this sucks that it's another, good chunk of change that we would have to put forward, but, it's a priority and let's do it, right? That gives us one direction. I think the other path is, hey, let's try to find some places to cut and save money. I do think that the EV chargers is one, as much as I would like them. It's not that a ton of money, but it's also, there's a lot of other grants out there. So I feel totally that's just kind of an easy defer it. There's a couple other grants already there that we could apply for. McKenna sent me some potential state funding and other options. Look, and said she's willing to look into some other funding options. I think that stuff's great, and I think we should totally do it. I don't think it lets us. One, we've got to make a decision pretty much tonight because the HVAC guys want to get started in spring. All their planning and material basically starts now. So step one is, hey, do you want HVAC? Yes, great. Then I think the board's got to say, look, yes, we want HVAC and we're going to fund it. Step two is, do you want to keep the whole project more or less as planned? Or do we want to start talking about how to, cut different things? I think that's really up to you all. And I think, after the EV chargers, it gets pretty tough to find, I'd say, easy money to cut. I don't want to say that there isn't some money to cut. We've got 40,000 going towards the low income apprenticeship training. Could that program still happen if it was 30,000? Probably. Just 10,000 enough to kind of weaken that? Again, I'd leave it to those of you that get paid the big bucks to prioritize, but you let me know kind of what you're thinking. The solar, that's the next big ticket item. The big thing there, it's just, it's 40 cents on the dollars getting paid for by the feds or more. Again, that's hard to think that anyone's going to pay. No one's going to pay for 40% of our electricity bill. It is a lot of power. It is an uncertain amount of power. Solar isn't going to probably cover everything at the school, but it is going to make a pretty big difference. The battery pack, it's the same thing. I wish I could have modeled a little bit better. There's no doubt the battery lets the building operate at night off solar, or largely operate. That's a big cost advantage. Heat when your heat's electricity, but it's also, it's a good chunk of change. So yeah, I just stop at that and leave it open to questions or thoughts.
Does anyone?
Michelle, if you've been, oh, sorry, go ahead, Emily.
I was just wondering, I was just gonna do like a temperature check on this one to see how much conversation we need, or if folks are kind of leaning one way or another. I was just gonna check.
I'm leaning toward,
Along with that, go
yeah,
ahead. You're
You
leaning towards that.
I'm leaning towards A. I don't know if we want to just do the plan of going forward as is and knowing that we, need to put in some work to try and find more grants for these additional items. Personally.
I think, when you look at the big picture of the school, and Michelle will cover this later on, but look at our enrollment numbers. If we were in a continued decline down and we didn't know our financials were uncertain, I would be more concerned, but our enrollment's on the way up. And it's considerably higher than it was when we started the year. And when we came out of last year, right? And those are, our ongoing funding. We have savings accounts to deal with things like this when they come up. We have a reserve fund for our building. We'll use all that up. But these are things that we can build back. They've been built up over years through careful and considerate finances, and we can build them back up again. But we're never going to get an opportunity like this again to put this kind of a system into an old building like this. And I don't know what the diesel costs are every time we fill that tank, Michelle, and how often we do that. But every day that school is burning diesel at a pretty expensive rate. And I don't remember if it's a 1,000-gallon tank or how big the tank is, but it's expensive.
It looks like it's around $1,500 when we have it on. I mean, they literally turn it off during the summer. So we waited as long as we could until those teachers started complaining. And then we turned it. So it looks like the bills that I see are around $1,500 a month, and my guess is that's going to go up for the December and January and February, because, that October, November weren't necessarily, super cold at that point. But I mean, one of the things that we kind of talked about is the most important thing I think is the HVAC system, because it's not just the heat, it is also the air conditioning in the summertime for the building. If we want to have any sort of summer camps and classes, it's just simply too hot in that building to do anything during the summer, and serve kids at that time. And then, it sounds like the majority of we're gonna bust out the whole grant with the HVAC money. And then at some point, looking at the other stuff is not using, if we're not using grant dollars, it is amazing how much cheaper it is when you're not using the grant. Like if we're just able to go out and not have to pay prevailing wage for things, that is going to make some of the stuff cheap. Like the windows, we don't need to put in the grant. Do we need new windows? Yes. Can we get that and just do that separately? Probably, because I think that's going to save some money too and some headaches. So
I feel
Brent, have
like
you looked at that? Go ahead, Emily. I just wanted to get a temperature from Brent on that. If the windows are removed, what's that cost savings? And, what are they today versus a year from now?
Well, so I think the two things to think about is, so we got, let's say the total grant in DOE funds is 868. It's 868, but then we've got our matching fund contribution, which was committed at 492, right? With the assumption that 200,000 little plus gets paid back in the federal incentive money. So overall, it's about $1 million in federal incentive money plus, so rough $1,050,000 or so between the solar rebate and the DOE grant funds, and then you've got a couple different chunks of Energy Trust money. I haven't fully wrapped my head around, I think, Michelle's point of, like, if we take out EV chargers, I can just tell you those estimates I don't think go down a lot, just because we're not doing prevailing wage or have BABA. But for like the windows, the LED lights are done. So really it would just be like, do we benefit, is there a big cost benefit from knocking down the windows, getting out of prevailing wage, and maybe, BABA requirements as being the two things. We got an estimate, I think it was almost $50,000 from Bob's Glass, and that was like 3 years ago. That was kind of like the first pre-grant. Carol and Janet had got that way back when. So that's totally up to you guys. The insulation weatherization thing, I don't think changes a whole lot, but there's some effect there. The one challenge is anything we modify, then we got to go back through DOE and say, okay, we need a scope change, and we can do that. I think they understand the financial realities. It's paperwork and time, but I think it's kind of more. It's not a lot. I'm not sure it's I'm not sure it's massive savings, but I agree with Michelle that there could be some if you pull it out of then it's mainly just from pulling it out of the prevailing wage scoop. But I'm looking at the stuff that's on there, like,
well,
and it's
in reality, like if we, because it's so much higher, if we don't have the money to do that, I don't know how they could make you do.
they're not going to make you do. I think you're totally right. If you don't have the money, and I asked them yesterday, I went to them, I'm like, hey, you got an extra couple 100,000 you could kick out for, and she's just like, yeah, no. So we don't. But I did ask, and I don't think it's I don't think it's an obstacle other than it's a paperwork burden. But I think, look, if the school, if you guys came and say, hey, look, we are willing to spend up to this, but let's, we'd rather not, and let's pencil out, for example, if we can get the window estimate and the what insulation weatherization we can compare with and without prevailing wages, and there's some cost savings there, then we just make the scope modification broader to include a couple other things, and then we could have that savings. And
And we do have, I just looked in the account, we have $355,000 basically in the LGIP that is slated for building, but that is the building fund. And so you do have money in an account that is set aside for building, so.
And so if you just said straight across, no reductions, it'd be basically, again, keep in mind, and we got, kind of two pots of money here, right? One is what you've already, way back when, I forget if I put the board meeting date in there where we said, hey, this is the commitment. We've got a commitment letter to DOE. That's the 492,717. And again, that included the roughly 202,000 that would get returned as the federal incentive. To be clear, just because I just want to be clear on that, 30% is pretty much a locked in, against under current situation, current much a locked in incentive where we get it back. There's an additional 10% that would bring it up to 40% because we're in what they call a low, a low income census tract. So we have to apply for that. It opens on January 1. I'll commit to applying for it. It's competitive. I think we have a very good chance of getting it, but I don't know that we're going to get it. We qualify for it. That's what I can tell you. So I think, yeah.
What's the timeline on this completion of the job? If we're signing these docs, is it a 2-year timeline? Is it a 1-year timeline? And what does that look like as far as if we're looking at budgeting for the cost of things, spreading out this, how long are we spreading out this outlay, I guess is my question.
Right now, I think the official end of project is like December 2025. So it'd be a 2025 because DOE was so late in finalizing the thing. Everything got compressed from 24 and 25 and all into 25. So,
Okay.
HVAC and all that would start in spring. They'd try to, juggle around to make it as low disturbance as possible. But, I'd expect there's work going on in the school. They said they've done it before. It's worked well. But the big heavy equipment, because it would the outdoor AC units would require a waiver because we can't get them all what's called BABA compliant, Buy American, Build America, Build American. So we have to get a waiver from DOE. That's going to take a lead time. So they would kind of do all the structural work. And then at the end, probably they're thinking at the end of summer or a fall, as soon as we could get through the waiver process. Waivers already been granted for the same thing on a different school under the same program. So we would just be doing like a me too, but I'll prepare those documents with DOE, coordination with Matt, who's working on all this stuff for us. And then the actual final equipment, everything would come in and be functional with the idea that it's coming in like fall 2025, start of school. And everything, the solar is, Matt's got an RFP drafted right now for that. The hope would be get it done as soon as possible and possibly much sooner than we thought was possible. So.
Okay. Emily, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I was just wanting to look at the big picture, and I think, it feels like a lot of money, and so I'm glad that we're having this conversation, but in the big picture, this type of improvement needs to happen at our school. And in reality, because we have access to these federal monies, it's not a significant chunk of money for us in that way, in that regard, because we're not having to dole all of it out. We're just doling a portion of it out. And so I kind of want to just encourage us to go for it. And, we're in a fortunate situation where we have the money and the funds. They've been set aside specifically for the building. And I think that the investment needs to happen for the school and for the good of all of our students into the future and staff.
Yeah. Thank you, Emily. Avelia, you've got your hand up?
Yes, I agree with Emily, and I think the window aspect, if we continue to weigh on it, I don't think the efficiency, having the HVAC system and not having efficient windows will actually cut our electrical bill per se necessarily. So it's just something to think about because we don't know how long that, if we postpone windows, how long that would take and what the additional costs would take because we don't have that efficiency coming in to the building.
Okay, thank you, Amelia. McKenna, Tiffany, Marie, anybody else have any feelings or thoughts you want to add to this discussion?
Oh, go ahead, McKenna.
I just wanted to mention, I mean, when you said diesel, that's such a good reminder of the emissions. That is such a good reminder of the fumes that we're dealing with. So go, go, go. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, we are the largest polluter in the city of Mosier.
Cost of materials, and I mean, it's just the longer we wait, the more money we're going to spend, and especially if we have places to store some of this stuff, like the solar, for example, like, let's do it.
Okay. So it seems to me, Emily, do you have
I was just going to
your
ask
hand still
about
up, so I
the
want to make
motion that
sure.
we need.
Yeah, I was just going to write that down. So I think there's a couple motions here. We have a motion to approve the purchase of equipment prior to the need. So like, for example, the solar or any other equipment we can get drawn out in a design plan. And there's also the, the approval of kind of where we're at now with the updated contract with Piper Mechanical and the 150K worst case scenario from Tito and the electrical company. So for the first, does that sound, does everyone agree with those two proposals? Do we think we need more than that?
Well, I think it would be nice if you approve the 868 for the HVAC system with Piper, because that is definitely more than we kind of agreed that it was okay for me to approve.
Okay.
So before I spend
Okay.
an extra 300 grand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what that's 811,666 is what includes Piper's quote of 801 plus 8,003 and something. I've got the numbers in the email. Add on for higher quality air quality filtration. I did get asked by somebody, and I want to just respond to it, whether or not HEPA level of filtration was possible. That Piper ran the numbers tonight. It's almost $60,000 to add what would be kind of a hospital grade filtration on there. So I'm just passing that on. I think it would be awesome, but it's just hard to see where that comes from.
Can that be added on later, or does it have to be added on right at installation?
I don't know the answer to that. I would assume it can be added later. It is a part of doesn't change most of the systems. It's basically just on the air filtration. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and say, yep, probably could be done later. And look, I've researched it, and there's some good data on reduced colds and COVID and all sorts of things that are benefit from HEPA level filtration. But so yeah, maybe something to keep in mind for the next rainy day funding source.
Okay. I'm going to start swinging away with some of these motions. I'll make a motion that we approve the $811,666 in the updated Piper Mechanical HVAC quote. I guess. Thank you, McKenna. All those in favor? Any opposed, please voice your opposition. Motion passes.
Okay, and just for the record, I'm recusing myself from both votes. Thanks, everybody.
Taking a note here. Second motion would be to approve the purchase, the preliminary purchase of equipment prior to the job starting. So I don't know how we want to say that, but basically the purchase of solar and any other related equipment that can be done prior to the job starting to save costs. That sounds like a reasonable approach there, Michelle. Okay, so the second motion will be to approve the purchase directed by Michelle or approved by Michelle of any solar or related piece of equipment that can be purchased after we receive our design plan, solar design plan. It's really jumbly, but.
And that's assuming
Go
that
ahead.
that's assuming that the purchase is within the budget that we've already looked at and discussed.
Correct.
I can second
You want me
that.
to say that again? Okay.
Oh, sure.
So the second motion is to approve the purchase of solar and other related materials prior to the project starting to save costs. And Emily seconded it. All those in favor? Any opposed, voice or opposition? Motion passes. Brent, is there anything else you think you need on our end from this meeting, or does that cover it?
I think those are the two big things. I guess I think perhaps maybe just a statement on the. Yeah, I don't know. Michelle, do you see anything else in terms of just? I think that.
So we had a motion for the 8 to spend the 811, right, for the HVAC and just go forward with that.
And then I think what you're saying is to spend funds as necessary to continue with solar and the other project components as budgeted.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I just want to say, like, I'm not saying that we shouldn't do the windows. I'm just saying that it might be less expensive to not have them wrapped up in this, because it does seem like things are more expensive in that. So
Maybe we preemptively asked for the adjustment in the where we pull them out and then we see, because we haven't that's been a while since we've had that bid for those windows. Maybe we get a new bid that's.
we have had,
Right.
I think we have 1 or 2 bids that are hopefully going to be coming in. So we've had a couple of people
Okay.
get them. We're just waiting. And we might have one that says, yeah, I came out there, and we do get a lot of people that come out to look at the project and just say, no, thanks. So, and then walk away from it. So,
And I think, what we did, I think we can just simply say, give us at prevailing wage versus non-prevailing wage. And if it looks like a big enough delta, then, that makes sense to me.
Sounds good.
Just to confirm, we don't need a motion on the one on the land electric. Okay, or maybe no.
Well, I think having a board motion that just simply says we're comfortable going spending, like you've got an updated budget in front of you, right? And it's 1.66646 as opposed to the 1.399. So I do think, just in the name of being clear, and then that gives Michelle the authority. Like, actually, if I add the 50K I mentioned onto the land electric, then that moves that total number up to a 310,681 additional funding on top of what was previously approved.
Let's do 2 more motions then. One for the approval of land electric, and then a final one that approves the overall budget as updated. That way it captures all of that. So first motion to approve land electric's $150,000 bid. Can I
I'll
get a
second that.
Thanks, Olivia. All those in favor? Go ahead, Brent.
Let me. I 2 things. I think one, the way that this would be done is with Land Electric as a subcontractor to Piper, because we've already done all the RFPs for the HVAC. I think we need to make clear that we would just be approving an additional 150 to be used for Piper to hire Land Electric as a subcontractor.
Okay, I'll adjust it then. The motion is to approve Piper Mechanical, the ability to hire Land Electric with an updated subcontractor bid of $150,000 for electrical.
And maybe it's, you know, again, just given how fluid this is, just as a contract, I think I would say, yeah, I think to stay clean on the RFP, I think we've got to, it's just got to be as an add-on for the HVAC, because the HVAC is what we've done all the RFPs on, right? And so I think if we went and just did like a standalone electric, yes, we know it's for the HVAC and we know we didn't get any bids on the HVAC, but if I was, I think that would be a cleaner way to do that, is to just be, you know, approving additional costs of, you know, up to 150K for the electrical, you know, Piper to do
HVAC electrical.
Yeah, HVAC electrical.
Yep. Okay. So the motion is to approve an update, the updated $150,000 for HVAC electrical. Clean enough? All right.
Second that.
Can I get a second? Thanks, Abelia. All those in favor? Any opposed, voice your opposition? Okay, and then the fourth motion is to approve the updated budget as presented. Can I get a second on that? Thanks, McKenna. All those in favor? Any opposed, voice your opposition? Motion passes. All right, that should, Brent, get us squared away and ready to go.
Thank you all. Tally
Thank you
ho.
for your time.
Thank you, Brent.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
See you later. Have a good night. Thanks again for putting me on.
Thanks, Brent.
All right, that brings us to new item number 6, which was our business manager report. Veronica's not here at the moment. Michelle, do you want me to move that down, or do you want to present it?
Well, I've called her, I've texted her. I'm not sure what happened because she told me she was going to be here. So, I can just really quickly, because we've gone over, I mean, I go over it every day with her. So everybody should have access to the, let's see if I can share my screen. Oh, I can't until you let me.
I don't see if I am.
Oh, no, I think I got it now.
Okay.
Something happened. Okay, so is that, can you see that? So we're trying to make it simple. It's a little small. Let's see. I think I can. Oh, that's a little big. Hold
That's
on.
good.
There you go. How's that? Is that good? We're trying to make it a little simpler, going to what we had. So again, we have, and you all have access to this drive right now. She has September and October in there. And because this board meeting is so my guess is in January, you're going to get November and December in there because it will be a later thing and she'll have both of those done. We have our income. Now, remember, student fees is the preschool. And I am going to report that we're pretty much, I think we're almost all the parents are all paid up. And so that seems to be, the invoicing system seems to be working. They can pay online. So that's helping us. We have some return on investments, and that is basically our LGIP throws off some money for that. I think it's like $9,000 a month that throws off. Food service, that looks really low, and you're going to see in November that the actual is going to go up quite a bit, because we changed where the D21 was sending us money, and now the ODE is just sending it directly to us because we have a whole separate account for that money to go in. And so we're going to look over the next couple of months just to make sure that we're operating in the, not in the red and the black, but I think that that's a good possibility for that. So we seem to be Dawn's gone after a couple of grants for some some fruits and vegetables, and we just kind of keep working on that. Extracurricular activities, that is our clubs. Other revenue, I'm not, and so our state school funding, I was telling Dan that D21 had kind of gotten behind in there sending us checks, and it was because they had a new person in the office. That's all taken care of. They're all caught back up again, so that's good for us. Income, so there's the income there, and the 41% is, we've gotten 41%, so that's percentage as far as the school year goes. Expenses, salaries, we're right, fairly close to being right on, because we are a third of the way through the school year. Payroll costs, that's just the insurance and all of that. Supplies and materials, we're, we're a little heavy on that. I think that most of the spending is kind of slowed down with that. A lot of the teachers have received $500 Masonic grants. So that's going to be, and so we put that into their expenditures. So they have some more capital outlay. That's just because we are kind of overspending that. We'll slow down on that a little bit, but just like you were just talking about, the building has so many things that have been neglected for so long. We're just trying to kind of make sure that we're up and getting things safe. And I do not know what the other objects is. So evidently we spent a lot of that. The next thing that she had in here, so that's a budget summary. This budget detail, I can't, this one's just too complicated for me. I mean, this kind of gives you a little bit more in the weeds. You can go online and look at that yourself. It's in the drive, in the shared drive for us. And let's see if I can go back to where I was. Here's nutritional services. This again, in November, you're going to see a big change to that. We did just have an audit, our second one, when you're only supposed to have one every 3 years. So we're good for a few years. We passed that pretty well. And let's see, and she had one more on here. Oh, statement of activity. Oh, I don't know what that one is. I think that's just a statement of what's happening, what happened in October. Remember, this is October, not November. And then here's the financial position. So this is the one that I want to always kind of watch out for. So that just tells you what we have in the bank. Total assets, 2.5. And I don't know why it says the light. Oh, and I'm not quite sure again what the light. Oh, those are just bills that we have due, I think, or is the 67,000. Questions? If you don't know how to get to that, it's in a shared drive. It's in, let me see if I can go back so I can show you. So it's in the finance. Well, you'll just go to the board financials. It's all shared with you, FY25, because that's going to be where we end up at. July and August are empty. September and October have folders in them with the documents that you can look at anytime. Avilia.
Hi. So they are actually on the board. The only file that they have, folder that they have shared is the board financials.
Right. Yes.
So
Yeah.
just in shared drive, just look for the board financials and then you can click in for the years.
Okay. I don't know what you guys see. I have a lot. Yeah. So, okay. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to try to stop sharing. There's a lot of weird. Hold on here. Sorry. Oh, there. Thank you. There's I don't know. I have this thing about this content of this meeting is being sent to a third party. So
It's just being, it's being
yeah,
sent to
maybe I just need to say, okay. Oh,
YouTube.
good. I said, okay. And now that thing's gone. So,
All right, let's, any other questions for Michelle on the business manager report?
I would just say that like for that last item, other something, other products or something. If Veronica can just add like a comment to let us know what that is, it'd be helpful to track it. And then maybe even like for other ones, like I'm tracking the student fees or preschool, but like a couple of the other ones, like capital outlay, it might just be helpful. At least for me, it would be helpful to be able to understand what those are a little bit more.
Yes. Just also, and I kind of talked to Dan about this, we are changing, we are bringing on somebody that's just going to do HR and payroll. Her name is Sarah. She is recommended by Veronica, somebody Veronica works with. They're changing from QuickBooks to Paylocity, which we've been told, and I've talked to Summer about that a little bit, and everybody's going to be so much happier because it's just a more it's just a more flexible program. It will also make it easier for our employees to be able to get on and see their paychecks and what they have in there, more user friendly. They shouldn't see any change in that other than they're going to change from their QuickBooks app on their phone to a Paylocity app on their phone, and it should be very seamless. It is saving us a little bit of money with QuickBooks because right now we spend about, I think she told me $410 a month for QuickBooks. Paylocity is about 300, but we are paying for services from Sarah. Sarah's going to do all the onboarding of new employees. If somebody was to no longer work, she would also help with the transition of having somebody be separate from us. She's also going to be handling all the health insurance, PERS communication, and all those things that has been communicated out to the teachers and staff, so they know the change is coming. It does come at a cost of $1,000 a month. And so I had actually talked to Veronica about, so are we going to pay her less? But we're asking Veronica now to do the DOE grant, all the grant thing. And so I think that's going to free her up to be able to do more with our finances and our budget. And so I think we're going to try this for a while and see if we can get some good information. We're still in the long run, we still are kind of saving money because these are contracted people, and so we're not paying benefits. But they are remote, so that's kind of hard to do too. So that's all I got to say.
Michelle. That brings us to number 6, our treasurer's report. Amelia, and you have your hand up, so go ahead.
Yeah. I just wanted to add other our dues and insurance expenses. So dues and
Thank you.
subscriptions and insurance. I just didn't want to leave it hanging around there. Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So my treasury report is going to be a lot of repeats, so I'm going to just skip some things that Michelle already went through. The school audit is still ongoing. We are going to wait till the last day. Michelle, can you remind me what day that is to file the extension? I believe it's December 31st.
We just what we were told, I did contact the state and they're like, we just need a day, if you're like, if it's due that it is due the December 31st, we could do it on the 30th, but I am off for those two. So Veronica and I just made a decision. If we don't think it's going to be met by the 20th of December, we're just going to go ahead and file that. Currently, thanks with the help of Don and we've got everything in that they've requested. And so Veronica was just checking in with them to see what else they needed. We're waiting for Summer to do she is doing the financials for us. And I think those are close to being done. So who knows, we might make it in time. We're just kind of hanging off for just till we know for sure that we're not going to make it, but it will, if we don't make it, it will be mid-January. It won't be like it was last year. We'll have it done before the end of January for sure.
Thank you, Michelle. And according from last week, we were still missing 3 bids, which we actually got that same day from Dawn. As we were in the meeting, she brought those in. And there were still 40 missing receipts, but seems like that has been taken care of as well.
They're all found.
Perfect. The
Can I clarify? They're not missing receipts. What happens when they audit, they just are checking they do like random checks to make sure you have those receipts. So we were able to find all the receipts, so that's good.
Yeah. And we already, Michelle already talked about the payroll and bookkeeping system, looking into a more focused school friendly system. And we went through Brent's presentation. Michelle has the Tiger Stents financials on the turkey trot. And it seems like the state fundings from the school has been cut up. That was something that we were going to talk about, but that has been resolved. And I believe the only thing to talk about is Michelle is working on a form for Tiger's Den, just because auditors will be talking about responsibilities of where the fund pieces are coming from, especially the cash aspect of things. So we're just trying to make something really easy and clear to communicate in a form version, just to have all of these different um, incomes of money and also spendings of each event or fundraiser that's happening.
And Veronica's working on that so that when anybody was having a fundraising, they'd fill out a form. It would kind of generate a spreadsheet so we can kind of keep track of the, money deposited and expenses.
And there will be a draft sent out for everyone to review before it's and follow-ups as needed before it's finalized.
Sounds great.
Thank you, Avelia, Michelle. Oh, go ahead, Marie.
Thanks, Avelia. Thanks, Michelle. I probably should have raised my hand during Michelle's presentation. I was just curious to know, I've been reading about the PERS increasing, believe by around 3.4% next year. So I wonder, I don't know, in the future update, if maybe we could kind of see how that is going to affect the budget. Just
Yeah, and no, I've heard that. I heard that as well. That is around the state. I think when it comes time to when we start the budgeting process in February, our hope is to start the budgeting earlier. That we will, factor that in, and this will be. I guess this is the good thing about having somebody else take on the HR and the payroll things. It's going to give Veronica more time to really research and do all those things for us. So we'll have a better idea with, I think this budget, we were literally just shooting in the dark with it. So we'll have a better idea of what we should be budgeting. And I think she'll have more time to devote to that as well. So it is, yeah, it is, I hear from a lot of school districts, they're very worried about it. So
I just think we're probably in a pretty good position to, just prepare and weather it. So thanks.
Okay, that brings us to item number 7, our MTA report.
I guess we should unmute ourselves. Oh, good evening. Hello. Oh, okay. We had a pretty good turnout for responses this month. For K1, so from Fern Johnson and Billy Frazier. We have the parenting workshop on the 12th for the pre-K through 3rd grade families. So that's kind of something to look forward to. Primaries are just starting a unit on pioneers. We have some fun new activities in the classroom to explore the idea of the past/history thanks to a grant from the Masonic Lodge. Wooden washboards and cloths to wash, Lincoln logs, wooden toys, tops, cup and ball, Jacob's ladder, button spinner. And I heard that the washboards were the biggest hit of all with the K1 group. From Margaret Elkin for ELD, the Fall Title III ELD Family Night was an engaging, fun, and successful event. 2/3 of the ELD families were in attendance. We had community support from the Dallas Public Library, Columbia Area Transit, and Migrant Education. We played traditional Mexican Loteria Bingo for prizes that were generously donated by the Migrant Education Office. Families enjoyed a delicious tamale meal with some tasty flan for dessert. And the grand finale was a gigantic star piñata filled with candy. It was too big to hang from the ceiling, so it was placed in the middle of the floor in the main foyer. The attending middle school students each held onto one of the stars raised and yanked hard. From there, it was candy grabbing frenzy. I'm sorry I missed it. From Janet Baker, our reading specialist, she reports the reading department has identified some gaps in student skills and are brainstorming creative and fun ways to practice these skills in small groups. In January, we will begin our middle of the year assessments, and we are excited to see the growth. Shout out to Ramona, Chrissy, and Corrine for making learning fun, and Ashley, who is key in helping us get data entered for our students. So big shout out to our support staff.
And second and third, we continue to study culture and traditions, exploring each of our own traditions and heritage. The students have loved creating and exploring art, writing, and singing. The holiday fever is definitely struck, and we continue to practice our craft to keep the students engaged and excited about learning. It's a true story.
Struggle's real.
From Melina Hogue, this year is finally starting to improve for her. The transition to teaching both math and science has been very challenging. Her energy is spread pretty thin with the workload and student behaviors. This has been far more challenging year, but finally she's feeling a little relief and could not or would not do this job without her amazing co-teacher, Miss Rogan, and EA Brittany Fisher. Brittany has been so valuable with the workload that she has. Her support allows her to focus on the teaching and classroom management. She states that she is seeing an increase in constant distractions, disrespect, and the lack of responsibility. The middle school team continues to work together and keeps trying new strategies to find solutions for success. And lastly, greetings from the music room. Songs of snow and holiday cheer pour out of the music room as they prepare for this weekend's community tree lighting, Saturday, December 14th. All MCS music students have been invited to serenade the Winterfest crowd from 4:30 to 5, setting the tone for a wonderful evening provided by Main Street Mosier. The excitement of the holiday season is palpable, and they're doing a great job focusing, singing as a group, and learning from each other every week. So thanks for having us to report on all these things.
Thank you for reporting on everything. Thanks. The behavior thing, I think we see it. Like I see it at home. I think kids are, I don't know what it is, stir craziness or what, but there's some wildness going on right now. There's something that's making them all crazy.
Yeah, that's true.
Thank you for waiting a bit longer today for your report. I apologize for the delay.
Absolutely.
Any questions?
It's all good stuff. It's all important.
Yeah. Any questions from anybody on the call today? Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That brings us to item number 9 now, which is our ED report. Michelle, I have the copy. Michelle, if you want me to share it, or you can if you want. It doesn't matter to me.
I gotta unmute myself. Okay, so I'm gonna, let's see, enrollment, we're now at 167. We've gained three kids in the last week. So, so that's exciting. I really I think all classes are full right now. Unless they live in Mosier, we're we're not accepting any new students at this time. So, Amelia, do you have a question or?
Yes, I guess question comment. Do we know how many students will be gone for more than the 10 days during, I know that sometimes we get some drops and then we regain them during this time.
Right now, I know that we have two families that are out. One family, their kids will not miss, they'll be back in time they'll be back on the 11th day. The other family has gone 14 days, and I think there's two kids in that family, so not as many that I know of, that I'm aware of. And I think Margaret does such a nice job of communicating that with us, because we might not have known that they were leaving, and Margaret lets us know what's happening. So that's really helpful. So yeah. So I would say we've had a new kindergartner, and we had a very lovely note I had the first day for the child, an email from the parent. They come from the Dalles. Not very happy with what was going on in the classroom there. And then she came and interviewed, basically came in, and very, very happy parents. They're very happy. Like hopefully she's going to try to become a sub in the building as well. So very happy with that. So, and then we've gained a couple more kids too. Preschool, we have 6 very happy preschoolers, and we have 3 more enrolling in January. We have one that we have made just because we have the space for it. We have one person that's just going to come one day a week on Fridays. And so we Rebecca and I came up with a dollar amount for that. We're going to charge $150 for that, for them to come on Fridays. And then we have 2 more that are going to come, that will be, one's 3 days a week, and the other one I think is 4 days a week. We have 10 families that are expressing interest for the 25-26 school year. So I believe we'll be growing that preschool. It is really hard to change preschool. So, I mean, if they already have one that they're really happy with, to change is hard, but I think there's good, people are hearing really good things about the preschool, and the word is getting out. So that's great. We're fully staffed at this time, with the exception of, we do have a new student that might, is going to require some extra support. So at this point, I'm going to just shift staff around a little bit. There might be a point where we need to hire someone to take on that. We are still looking for educational assistants. We seem pretty good at covering teachers at this point. It just is our educational assistants that we're really having a hard time with that. And so yesterday we were missing 5 people, and everybody worked together and we made it all happen. So that was good. Yes, Tiffany.
I know as a board member, you can't be employed by the school, but did we ever figure out, remember when I was inquiring, like, could a sub?
Yeah, because you're
sub
not
work?
really employed by the school, right? Because you're employed by ESS. So I need to double check that.
Well, let me know, because I might
Yeah,
go
we would
there.
love you. Yeah, yes, yes.
Okay.
The MCS, the school calendar, what we did is, I had D21, Deb and Monica are so amazing. They were able to give us a spreadsheet of all of our families and their email addresses and their parents' names. And Julie and I kind of combined that into a spreadsheet that we have those people that have responded and those people that have not responded. Our goal was to call everybody, and we haven't been able to do that yet because we haven't had time. This started over Thanksgiving. I actually just sent out an email directly to the families that had not yet responded, and created a smaller survey that was basically, what is your name? What is your email address? And what do you think about the 4-day school week? And then gave them a spot to ask anything. I sent that out this morning, got 5 responses. So we're up to 60 responses, and we have 76 families that have yet to respond. And so that was good. Having the spreadsheet, we were able to kind of, the people that had 2 or 3 kids, we gave them only a vote of 1, not a vote of 3. So that's helpful. I am going to give Mary Ellen and Lisa and I talked about creating a survey that is more directed at staff. And so I'm going to work on that in the morning and get that sent out to them, because the one that we had didn't really do that. I did have a small meeting with mostly the EA. I think it's our educational assistants are most concerned about losing hours, and the teaching staff, their hours almost remained exactly the same. I think they might gain I think they lose about 10 hours, but they're salaried, so that doesn't matter as much to them. It matters a lot to our educational assistants because they are hourly. And so the goal would always to keep them at the same hours they currently are. And there will be opportunity to do some summer school camps and for that. I think at some point we're going to I'm just suggesting that we do a special meeting in January, either for parents to be allowed to come in and talk, ask questions about it. And then I would say in February, my suggestion is we need to make a decision about, yes, we're moving forward or we're going to table it. So at some point, so we can get the calendar going. Okay, calendar events, most of that are already on there. I just want to make sure that people know that the Tiger Rally on Friday, I'm also sending out a survey just to see, because that's the last day of school, having a Tiger Rally at 1:30 in the afternoon before everybody leaves for 2 weeks is very challenging for teachers. Look at Mariella shaking her head, no way. So we're going to ask if we can move that to first thing in the morning. And maybe it's not 7:30, maybe it's 7:30 is just the one that doesn't disrupt. It disrupts as few as people possible if we just start out with a Tiger Rally. And I'll get some feedback. And so but I will make sure that all parents know when the Tiger Rally is going to be on that day, winter break. And then we're teaching staff is back on Monday. The 6 students are not. And I am going to offer it to some of our educational assistants. It is actually not a contracted day. I would pay extra for them to come in and work, just because I know that there's going to be, the teachers we're going to do part of it in service and part of it prep day for the teachers, so that they are not thinking about what they have to do in their classroom on their winter break, but they can come in and have a little bit of time to prepare for bringing kids back. And the rest is on there. Just really quickly about grants. I think we already went through the DOE with Brent. Veronica, here's another reason Veronica needs a little bit of time freed up, is we need to go through, and January 31st is when we have to submit a Q1 budget, and we're going to do that. We have $280,000. Remember, we had some money that we had from last year, and we have money this year. Most of that money has been spent for our science curriculum, our literacy specialists, but we're kind of splitting in half with the early literacy grant. The grant, we've just decided the early literacy grant, we're just making it all literacy specialist. It makes it so much easier for reporting on the grant, instead of having like little pieces of stuff. If we just have one big chunk, it's easier for Veronica. On that. I think it would be an amazing idea. And I know that at some point, I think you guys did have a facilities committee, and I don't know who's on that or wasn't on that or who wants to be on that, but I would love to have one formed and have a meeting in January where we kind of toured the building, the facilities, and started making plans for what we want to do and budget for in the 25-26 school year. And then probably meet January and maybe in February, and then bring together a plan in March, so that the board knows, what needs to be, what we're looking at, what needs to be done. So let me know if you want to be on that committee. I know Dan does. So anyway, areas of need right now, the garden area, I don't know if you need to stop by. The fence is up and the gate looks amazing, because we have the gate now where you can see it. We went ahead. So there was a talk about trying to move this shed, and Scott Pett I don't know his last name, it starts with the P, Pettit, I think it is. He came and said, you're not moving that shed. There's no way you're going to move that shed. So we just made the decision to buy a smaller shed because the garden, it doesn't need a huge shed. We need to be able to store tools, dirt, seeds, soil in there. So we made it and we were able to turn it the way it wants so that when you're in the garden, you'll be able to use the door within the garden. And so we just, so we're really close to, getting ready to actually put the beds in it. So, it looks really good. It looks really great. So the fence is up.
Was there a gate in the fence also to get like equipment in there larger than a person, or is it just a person gate?
It's just a person gate. I could ask him because I don't think that all of the panels are, because I think what they could do is one of those 6-foot panels is make it so you could take a panel off. I'll ask Scott about that. I think that would be fairly easy to do. So you could get, because you need to come in there and do some work in there. So I will talk to Scott about that. And if he could make it a little bit easier to take on and off, that would be, and we know which gate that we're always taking on and off, and then not put and not putting a raised bed in front of it. So, and making sure it has kind of a,
whatever the widest area is would be a good spot.
Yeah.
I think the tractor is 6 feet wide. Exactly.
Okay. We'll see what we can do about that. So, the one other thing, the upgrade, and actually Brent had kind of talked to me about it a little bit, is he has some pavers. We definitely need a new walkway into that thing. Right now it's just has all these stones. It's very dangerous. The other thing is the preschool entrance. We want to cover that because the doors are just getting ruined by weathering. It would be nice for when people come in there, they have a place to kind of dry off. Scott was looking at that for us. He feels like we just thought we were going to just kind of put one up there, but he feels like it's going to be more structural. So he wants to do some plans and get us a bid on that. We still have the middle school front area that needs some love. And the gym, I have somebody coming out to do a bid for the ceiling, to actually they're more like a hard panel. So the kids kicking the soccer balls up there won't be an issue. It will look a lot nicer as well. I don't know I have no idea how much that's going to be. So we're just going to start with, I know somebody owns a company that does that, and he's usually fairly kind to schools. So I'm going to see how kind he's going to be for us. And then one of the things we are going to do is the lunchroom is disgusting to me because it is, and if you've ever been in it, it does where the kids are eating. So Mitch and I kind of talked about it, and we're just going to spend a couple $100 and get him some paint. And so during the winter break, we're going to paint the lunchroom so that it kind of cleans it up and gives it a little fresh look to it. So, and then those are just tiny things that we're going to do. And then once we have I think the committee, they're going to be kind of tasked with, what are all the things that we need to do, and then putting them in some sort of order. Questions about that?
Go ahead, Marie. You're muted, by the way.
Just had a question about the ceiling. Will it conflict with any of the future upgrade project?
I actually think what we are going to have to do is kind of work on that together, because those giant heating duct things that we have, my understanding is those are going to come out. And so I'll let Mark know that, and I think he can work around it. Right now, both of them are leaking all over the floor, and so it's a little bit dangerous. We do not actually have a ladder that can get up there, but Dale is going to bring a ladder so that he can get up there. It's I don't know, a 3-point ladder. What is that? I don't know. He has a ladder. Mitch does not want to go on the ladder, but Dale said he would. So I'm not quite sure. It needs to get fixed because it's like one was leaking and now the other one's leaking, and it has to do with, it's a joint that's leaking. So it may be that it would be hard to put money into that right now if it's coming out. So, but we may have to put a couple $100 in it to get those fixed. I don't know. So, but yes, but Maria, yes.
Let me know if you need another ladder or another person to go up the ladder.
Okay, yeah, oh yeah, you like to go. That's in your, yes, yeah, it might be. Mitch is definitely like, I don't want anybody who's not comfortable going up a ladder, so if he's not comfortable, I don't want him going up a ladder, so.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, and Tiger Rally, there'll be, that is on the 20th. I would say behaviors, as I think Ms. Hoke said, we definitely have had an increasing and challenging behaviors. I think that one of the things that Jen has, she's working on, we've just kind of decided, hey, we're going to start calling parents, because we are trying to deal with it. And there are some kids that we literally could call their parent probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 times a day. And it's just, we're just having a hard time dealing with it. And so I think bringing, parents are our partners and we need to work together to help with the challenging behaviors. We have, again, the K1s seem to be the ones that we have the least, amount of behaviors with. And then I would say, we have some kids that they, just have big emotions, and thank goodness for Miss Lisa, because she takes kids on lots of walks, and when we have I know this week we've had a couple of times when we've had 3 people need us, and sometimes we're busy with others, and I do, here we go with that support staff again. A lot of the support staff will say, hey, I've got it, and they'll go down and help support a student, so we appreciate that. Clubs are kind of winding down. The last club is the drama club is going to be concluding on December 19th with their Frozen play at 1 p.m. for students and staff, and then they'll do it again. I think it's at 6:30. It's an hour long. I love that. And then we do have somebody willing to do some sort of STEM club in the winter time, and we're just trying to determine if that's what grade levels that they're going to do. It will probably be older grade level. Evidently, there was some wind turbines that they had a couple of years ago that they did some STEM stuff with, so.
Michelle, my
yep.
internet just cut out. What did you say about the STEM in the winter?
We have a parent that is going to run a club, and I think they're still trying to I think they're looking for the wind turbines that they used to have, some kits, and then and determining what age levels that's going to be. And then I'll put one more out for any teachers or staff that are thinking about running a club. So, and then safety drill. We had a successful evacuation drill on last week in December. And so our next drill up is an earthquake and evacuation drill on the 14th. We always move the times around, so everybody gets to, different locations where they're at. With that, I don't know if I'm sure everybody, evidently there was a lockdown drill at the Dallas Middle School today, or hold a secure drill. And then they did really great communication. I think if we had something that wasn't scheduled, we definitely would make sure that parents knew that was going to happen. We did just get our report back from our fire. We had a inspection. And as always, the stage was #1 on his list. So, and it's hard. That stage just has a lot of stuff on it. We have to keep we're working with Tito to see if we can light it a little bit better in the back. We have a few things to correct, but not many. We also are supposed to have the people from Western States came out to look at upgrading our alarm box, because we continue to get every morning we have to silence it. They're going to come in and check all of the pulls and the riser and see, and then give us a bid on a replacement. Now, evidently that box is not new. It's probably at the end of its lifespan. And we will probably be changing to one that uses a phone system, or a radio system. So they have new systems that they're using, and they came out and looked at that, but I haven't heard back from them for the bid. all of the fences in, all of the gates are on. And I don't know if you noticed it, but all of the gates have a number on them now. And we are going to be mapping that out, giving it to the fire department so that if we said, come to gate 1 or gate 6, they're going to know what we're talking about. It just is, when you have that many entrances to the campus, we need to be very specific on where, we need help. So. And transportation, I don't have anything to report. So that's it.
Thank you, Michelle. Any questions for Michelle on any of the topics she went over there? Very detailed. I appreciate it. Those fire alarm boxes, just as a note, they don't always have to be replaced. I know we've talked about this a couple of times, but I've seen some that are ancient and they still work. But the trouble alarms are very common.
Okay.
Every fire alarm box has a trouble alarm. There's none anywhere that don't have a trouble alarm. There's always some gremlin or problem in them. Even brand new buildings have trouble alarms. I see them every day, and it's just something that happens. The communication between each individual piece. So if it's just a trouble alarm, I'm less worried about it. If there's actual alarms, if it goes into alarm, then it's something to worry about. But the trouble alarms are they're just little gremlins in the system. So we'll see what their bid is when they come back with a bid. But.
Right. I think the risers are the thing that's the most concerning to me, just because I had a riser go out at Corbett and it makes a mess. Because we had just water shooting out of it. So we want to make sure that, okay. We also did have them go look down at the middle school. The middle school currently just has regular old smoke detectors like we have. So they don't actually have to have by law alarm system. He did say there are some kind of basic ones that they can put in there. So we are going to kind of look at that just so that those 3 buildings would be somehow hooked together, so that if there was a problem in one of the spaces, that we all the kids are evacuating at the same time, and that we would be notified that there was a problem in the building. So.
Good. Excellent. Okay, that brings us to item number 11, which is our OSBA policy review and recommendations committee. Did we make any headway on our last meeting about that committee? Okay. Currently, Michelle and myself, maybe one other person, get the OSBA updates. I don't remember exactly who's on the list, but I sent an email out earlier today to all the board members and Michelle with kind of what the current policy update is. We had a webinar in November from OSBA that went over the policy changes. In that email, it just discusses kind of some realignments of the policies. And I do think it would be best just to have a committee that meets with, whether it's the board chair, the ED, some of the people, it doesn't really matter as long as we just are continually working on that and making sure we stay up to date. And so I would just open it up to discussion on anyone's feelings about whether they want to be on the policy review board or committee. We get these updates regularly, and some of them are more extensive or expansive than others. And this one's about 6 items, a lot of deletions of old policies, and then new ones that are being added to cover some Title IX stuff. There's a ton of other policies that are not required that you get the required ones done and then pick through the ones that aren't required and see what's most applicable to us and work down from most severe to least severe. There's some stuff about AI out there, which I think is less important about our younger students, maybe more important for the middle schoolers, using ChatGPT and other things to do homework, that kind of stuff. Any discussion on that? Anybody want to be on the policy committee?
I was just 2 things I was going to say. Kristen Miles at our last board training encouraged us to have a policy review committee as a best practice. And I would also be willing to be on that committee.
Okay. Another thing that came about with that webinar that I watched was they're requiring public meeting law training now for every board member sometime in their term. So when you're elected for your 3-year term, or if you come in and you fill in and your term ends early, sometime in your term, you're required to do public meeting law training. Marie's going to look and see if the public meeting law training that we've already done, that majority of us have already done, covers us from OSBA, or this is, I believe this change happened after that meeting. So it may be that we need to do it again. I'm not sure. Marie will find out from Kristen Miles, and we'll know more about that. Okay, well, if anyone else has interest in policy, I don't think it needs to be a huge committee. Go ahead, Marie.
Yeah, you know, I would be happy to join the policy committee. So feel free to add me onto the list.
Sorry, my Wi-Fi is messed up.
Yeah, I was just saying that I'm happy to support my fellow board members, Michelle, join the policy committee.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I have some problem with my computer right now. So it's not letting me turn my camera on, but as long as you can hear me, we're good. Do we need to make a motion for that, Michelle, or is that going to be I think it will be if it's an ED run committee, it's something we just stand up.
Okay, so yeah, that's fine. And then can we go back to the facilities? So I know Dan, but I think we should have somebody, another one or
I
two.
would.
Tiffany? Okay. Yeah, and I think that's, if we should be okay. And I'm probably gonna have Dawn and Mitch also join us for that, since they know what we're doing, so, okay.
Is the policy committee a board committee or a ED committee?
I think it can be either. If it's organized, the ED gets them, and we'll continue to get the policy update. So when they come in, we can discuss it. And Michelle and the board chair could discuss, set a meeting day, and then everyone can meet with the ED in their office. The thing about it being a board committee is if we do that, then we have to take minutes and make it something that's announced like a board meeting.
Yeah, and will the facilities committee be ED or board?
I think that would also be an ED one, so to make it just more efficient is we're really just kind of meeting and then bringing the suggestions or the recommendations, I guess I should say, then we bring recommendations to the board to make it a little bit more efficient.
Yeah, I think that works fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to try and log out and log back in, so I can fix whatever's going on with my computer.
Should we take a 5-minute break?
So, sure, that'd be great. I'll be right back.
Where did they go? All right, we didn't get out of here by 6:30.
We were like, just gonna text you.
Huh?
I went in the kitchen for a second and came back. We're like, well,
I
where
know.
is everybody? Where did they
left.
go?
I was like, oh, we were so close. We are going a little fat. I mean, I think we could wrap this up by 7. So
Okay.
Dan was having
Okay.
camera problems, so he needed to log off and log back on. So
Got it.
anyway,
Okay.
and I'm gonna go back into my house. I'm in my ADU because I had grandkids over. So I'm like, I'm leaving.
Hopefully this isn't being recorded.
Yeah, I don't think it is. Is it recorded?
Probably.
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah, it's recorded.
Okay, great. Skip over this.
Okay.
Changing places.
Okay, bye.
Where's Jack?
Should have put that slide up again. What was I thinking?
I love your slide, McKenna.
Just want people to know I don't, it breaks my heart when people are like, oh, I didn't hear about it. It's like, what?
All right, sorry about that. I've got a really old MacBook Pro and it sometimes has a fit.
Well, I think we're ready if you are. Dan, the only thing you might have missed was, I don't know if you had heard that Marie wanted to join the policy. You did get that.
Yeah, thank you. I couldn't see anything and I couldn't, I don't know what happened, but appreciate the update. Thank you. So we've got the policy kind of dynamic sorted out. The fund, or not fundraising, but facilities, Michelle, you have that sorted out, who you want on there, who's going to be on there if anybody wants to be. I think Tiffany said that she wanted to be on there. Awesome. Okay. Any other questions regarding the policy review or recommendations? I think we can move then to the next, which is the board work session proposal.
Yeah, I can take this one.
Awesome.
Yeah, so this is a proposal. One of the things that we've been talking about for a while is developing a succession plan, a board succession plan, so that we have nice, smooth transitions between board members, and also so that incoming new board members have all of the information that they need to be onboarded effectively. And so, one idea was to get everybody together and do kind of a workshop, a board workshop to help develop that succession plan. And the idea was, I guess we should look and see, you know, how soon the terms are coming up. I don't actually recall right now when the next election cycle will be, but maybe we look at that and then kind of work backwards to make sure that we're well positioned for it. And put a work session for a couple hours on our calendars when we're not too busy and we don't have so much going on that we can't find some time. Dan, do you remember when the next round will be of elections?
It'll be, yeah, there'll be elections this year, and I'm trying to find my board candidate file.
I believe that Julia's is expiring this June, and Avelia,
yeah.
Also, so we've got a lot this year.
I did notice online, unless it's been amended, like mine and Dan's says 26, but it's a 3-year term. So I think those are actually 27
Uh,
because we were just elected in 24.
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah, we can, I have a document somewhere, we'll find it and we'll make sure that we get that out to all members so we know exactly when terms end. Michelle, you'll have that as well.
Yeah, Tiffany, thanks for flagging that.
So this year though, you said Julia, Avelia, and Marie, is it you as well?
No, I'm on the website right now.
Okay,
My term expires, it would be June of 26.
okay,
I see Julia as expiring June 2025, Avelia, June 2025, and Emily, that was an appointed term,
okay.
June 2025. Although it, was Emily was appointed in 2024, right?
I was appointed in 2023.
2023. Okay.
Yeah. So I think, so we probably should do this planning. I don't know if Avelia and Julia want to, run again for board, but regardless, I think that it would be helpful to have this document at least started. And maybe we don't have to rush to finish it, but we can at least spend some time thinking about what would be helpful to include in it. So maybe, I don't know, what do you think? Do you think that like aiming to have a work session maybe within the first quarter of 2025 is a good plan?
I think it would be good to
Yeah,
at least sometime in February, I would think.
yeah. The
And
elections will be in May,
right.
so
And the the onboarding and putting that together, it would be great to do with everyone else because it is quite a big job. I found. However, Kristen Miles recommended that we look at the Lighthouse School's website, and they have a fabulous onboarding page for their board members. And I can send out an email to everyone to kind of prime all of us and get our thoughts on maybe having something like that.
Yeah. So that's awesome, Marie. And maybe, so I wonder if maybe the board is comfortable with me and Marie working together to kind of, one, schedule that work session, and kind of pull together an agenda for both the succession planning and then the onboarding piece for February 2025.
yeah, I think that sounds great. I'm happy to make a motion if you'd like me to. Make a motion that we empower Emily and Marie to schedule the board workshop and succession planning, associated workshops and onboarding for the next, that'll be due after the next May elections. Thanks, Avelia, for the second. All those in favor? Any opposed, voice your opposition? Thanks for stepping up and doing that work. Anything else in that work session proposal topic that you want to talk about, Emily?
The only other thing that is worth mentioning, because I don't think we did already, is that there is a strategic planning session that will involve the board on January 8th at 5 o'clock at the school. It's in person, it's a public meeting. So we will have an agenda. We will also have an opportunity for folks to connect in online if they can't make it in person, but just want to make sure that's on everybody's radar.
Thank you. Is that going to be the owl camera or? Okay.
We have it in the library. We have installed, well, we bought a TV that's going to be installed, and we'll have an owl camera. And so it should be an easier, think of it as hybrid. So some people can be online and some people can, come to the meeting and watch it live, whatever Mary Ellen and and Lisa choose to do.
All right, well, that wraps up item 12, which is the work session proposal. We already looked at the MCS event calendar earlier, so that checks off 13. Number 14 is the proposal I sent out. I got this quite a while ago. It's to change the proposal to name the gym after Betsy Harmon, and it would be Harmony Hall. Did everyone get that email that I sent out about that? Okay, and this has been something that Dave Sather sent out quite a long time ago, and was circled back to and sent back to me. So it's my fault that it's taken this long to get it on the agenda. And this is before my time on the board as well. So I don't know if anyone has more input to add to the proposal.
Well, I never met her, but I've heard just such wonderful things. And I think it'd be one of those great opportunities if we are going to be planning on upgrades to that potential Harmony Hall, that we would maybe, schedule one of our fundraisers around it and make sure it's, when it's christened Harmony Hall, that it looks as it should.
Okay. Thank you, McKenna. Does anyone else have any input on that? Now, Tiffany and Emily, you guys have been here a lot longer than some of us, and so you probably know more than we would, or maybe.
I don't know. I didn't know Miss Harmon, but same thing. Like when I mentioned it to Nate, he was like, "Oh my goodness, I'm just so excited about that because she was such a wonderful person and she deserves that recognition."
Yeah.
And it sounded like her impact in the community was beautiful and worth recognizing.
Okay.
Same. I don't know. I didn't know her, but just like someone that I know whose kids went to Mosier School during her time there, had just beautiful, wonderful, amazing, nothing but praise about her and what she did for the school. So.
All right,
Yes.
thank you. Marie, go ahead.
Yes, I've heard the same, just only wonderful things. And I heard that she wrote the musicals herself and that they were often based around Mosier. I wonder if there would be any way to possibly, I don't know, for the school to put on one of her plays. I don't know. It sounds like a wonderful idea.
Okay. I have the letter that was sent out from Dave Sather that I'll read and just show to the screen so everyone has context. And then we can move on from that, or we can move forward with that. Mosier Community School Board, I am writing this letter in support and give some background to my proposal of dedicating the school's gym/auditorium to Harmony Hall after Betsy Harmon, who recently passed. I was the school's principal over a decade ago and knew Miss Harmon on a professional and personal level. Miss Harmon came to the school as one of the first employees, and she stayed until her retirement. She served as a reading para, recess monitor, mentor to the many teachers that came through the doors, music specialist, the smile that would greet students and glow in their success, but more importantly, as the drama department lead. As a singular person, Betsy led a club which ultimately became the very ethos of the school. Her plays were all original, that is written entirely by her, and with the use of her talent as a musician to create songs. The first production occurred on the steps of the office with the students gathered in the hall, and towards the end of her tenure, the use of the gym with the stage decorated by parent and student volunteers. Everyone was involved. Everyone, students and staff alike, had a role, a part to play that made it all work. Without question, this is the essence of Mosier School. People often have fond memories of their time in elementary school, but I can think of several who went on to be actors or musicians in their own right, and without a doubt, she had a hand in guiding into that life path. With support of the school and several parents, she was nominated for a National School Drama Award. If my memory is correct, the nomination in her honor was one of was one of the finalists. I am by no means forgetting how she was as a person. Every child was a guest in her library, and she had a special knack for finding the next appropriate book for a student, even going out of her way to find the right one. My memory is drawing a blank if there is such an honor to any other individual where something was named after them at the school, but Betsy did so much to mold what Mosier School is today that I can't think of any greater honor. With a twist that is quintessentially her own through wordplay, it was her daughter who suggested Harmony Hall, blending Betsy's memory, the vibrancy of music, and the quality of students that Mosier endeavors to achieve. To which I asked the board to set and approve a resolution dedicating the gym and auditorium as Harmony Hall, and I will ensure a plaque is created that will rest in the school, codifying her dedication to our students and the impact that she made in creating the school what it is today. Respectfully, Dave Sadler. I think that gives us all a little bit more context there. And it's awesome to hear a little bit of the history that, that we weren't a part of, but to hear, through this letter and also just through the anecdotal comments from all of you. I would love to be able to make that proposal that we dedicate the gymnasium for her and call it Harmony Hall. Anyone else have anything you want me to add to that, or should I make that proposal? Go ahead, Emily.
Oh, I was trying to second. Sorry, I thought that was it.
Okay. No, sorry, I'm just rambling a little bit. So I'll make a motion that we remove this out. Go ahead, Evelia. I didn't see your hand up.
Yeah. She sounds amazing. I have not heard anything. I didn't know of her. But I also believe that putting a name to something, especially in honor of someone, maybe we should open it to a little bit more feedback, allow more public comments to come, or if anyone else wants to say a little bit more. I think I just feel that and I'm not saying no one's feedback is not accurate, or I'm not trying to say anything like that. I just think maybe we shouldn't rush it and allow more people to come forward and just say what they're feeling, or if they knew her, just for it to be a little bit more open for the whole as a community to have a little bit of input towards this big decision.
Certainly. And we can also reach out to current staff and see if anyone has any other input. Go ahead, Tiffany.
I was just going to say, given all the good things, I do kind of tend to actually side, not that there's a side, but think in Avelia's line of thought that it probably is something, because it is such a big honor and like a whole gymnasium, named after someone, that it would be nicer to get more input from the community at large.
Yeah.
I think it might be a way to inform the community who might not be familiar of her legacy to also learn more about her. Maybe in the newsletter, could be a way to kind of let folks know that there was this incredible community member who worked at the school.
If allowed, I would love to share this with Juliana with Main Street Mosier, and I think maybe those Valley News could just be spread out more, and we could get so much more input, or just get entirely. It seems like the people that already have expressed about her, that we're getting a really amazing picture, and it would be great to even get more anecdotals that could help us with this decision, and also if we are going to name this after her, just to maybe do something a little bit more special. I think it would be great.
Awesome. Thank you.
Are you thinking that we're like in reaching out to the broader community, are we asking for input, or is it an information share? Like what's the what would we be doing other than sharing the information?
Of course, I think at least in my opinion, it would be just reminding community that they can always submit public comments of what has been proposed and what we are thinking, and just wanting to hear a little bit more. So I don't know. I'm not sure how that would necessarily look like.
Maybe just reach out and say, if you have, any stories or any memories that you want to share, to send them in as public comment and we can read them. You know, that gives us more context for the board and for everybody listening, and something that, you know, can be added to the dedication. Okay.
Close that loop.
So
Avelia is going to
Avail-
reach out to Mainstream
Avalia,
Motion
reach out.
letter. Okay, cool. And then maybe also in the school newsletter from Michelle. Awesome.
Okay. That just brings us to our last item before adjournment, which is a committee reports fundraising with McKenna.
Hi. Would you mind putting up my slide? We'll just keep it up. I just want everyone to make sure everyone knows.
Yeah.
But fundraising, we've had a really great month, guys. The turkey trot raised about $5,000. And if anybody went, it was a really fun, great showing, wonderful weather. We got some great news about it as well. And then also with the holiday fair, just to give you guys a sense of, last year we raised $700 for the school. And this year it's looking like 10 grand for the school with this. So it's just absolutely incredible difference. So like 1,300% increase over last year. So really excited about that. And we got some great learnings so we can make it better for everybody next year as well. And then we also got a separate anonymous donation of $5,000 that is going to the playground. They specifically mentioned that they were interested in having it be for trees and future shade. So something to look forward to as well. And then these, we did add a new fundraiser based on the success of the Jogathon. We wanted to make sure that the kids are being able to be involved as well. And we've added a readathon for the month of February. It's the kids have really enjoyed the Jogathon, and we wanted to try this as well. And it will benefit the Scholastic Book Fair. It will lead into that. We will make sure that it's the winners per week for the readathon will be getting money towards the Scholastic Book Fair that they can use. And then the grand prize winner will win either a bike or money at the Scholastic Book Fair. So we'll have two winners in different areas. But then the rest of these events coming up, you can just expect skate nights and the plays and the Made for Mosier party, which will have a lot more information coming soon.
Go ahead, Avelia.
The play, is it at 6 or is it at 6:30? I think I read in Michelle 6:30 and now I'm reading 6 here.
I think
My
it's at,
flyer had 6.
oh, is it 6? Oh, okay. I thought you
Double
told me 6:30, so. I have the flyer.
Yeah, the one that went home with the original, it's on my fridge, still says, it says 6, but if she changed it, thank you for letting me know, and we'll get to the bottom of that. Be there at 6 and you'll be okay.
While you're looking that up, there's also, I know McKenna and Michelle worked. Go ahead.
It's 6:30. I just looked at the flyer. The flyer says 6:30. It says there's a 1 p.m. where the students and staff, it's kind of their dress rehearsal, but then it says 6:30 on the flyer that was sent home today. So
Okay, today's excellent.
Cool. And you sent a text out to reaffirm that at 6:30 if people are looking at the wrong thing. I just want to briefly mention the Oregon Cultural Trust. We're a part of now as a school. Anybody who donates money, you can maximize your Oregon tax rebate, or basically a reduction in your Oregon income taxes by donating to the Oregon Cultural Trust. So for example, if you donate $2,000 total to two different entities, 1,000 to Oregon Cultural Trust, you get $1,600 off your Oregon state taxes. So we've done it for a number of years. It reduces your taxes and puts the money where you want it. And so you have an opportunity, if you are listening here or come across this, that the MCS is somebody who you can donate to through Oregon Cultural Trust. Any other good of the order? All right, thank you all for your time this evening and have a good time. We'll make a motion to adjourn. But I don't think I do this all the time, and we're just left with an open hanging meeting. Thank you, McKenna, for seconding that. All those in favor? All right, meeting's adjourned.